We are here for Cuyahoga County Public Works Procurement and Contracting Committee meeting for Wednesday, November the 16th, 2022. If I could have the the call to order.
And just as a reminder to all who are in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Tuma.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Conwell. Ms. Conwell is absent at the moment. Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Ms. Turner. Ms. Turner is absent at the moment. There is a quorum.
And Ms. Conwell advised that she's running about 5 minutes behind. And if we could have any public comment this morning?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Okay, and if I could have approval of minutes from the November 16th, 2022 meeting. I'm sorry.
I so move. Second.
That would not be the 16th meeting. That would be.
My apologies.
That's all right. There's a typo.
It's November 2nd.
Okay, so if I could, I'm sorry, November 2nd meeting, if I could have a motion to pass those
I so
minutes.
move. And I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And Madam Clerk, if you could please read the first matter referred to committee.
Resolution number 2022-0402, declaring that public convenience and welfare requires the rehabilitation of Smith Road from Sheldon Road to Pearl Road in the city of Middleburg Heights.
Okay, and I see we have the director here, the esteemed director, to speak to this.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Mike Dever with the Department of Public Works. Typically, as you know, Miss English typically presents on these items, and she is actually in a True to You schooling event today. So she's trying to help educate our younger people and encourage them maybe to come into the engineering field. And so anyway, she's not with us today. So I'm here today to talk on behalf of this item. It's the public convenience and welfare for the rehabilitation of Smith Road from Sheldon to Pearl Road in the city of Middleburg Heights. The request is the anticipated cost of this project is $2 million. Anticipated start completion dates for it is going to be next summer. The city has already prepared plans for this project. The reason why we're coming forward with this project, NOACA recently supplemented our federal aid projects and for 23 and 24, which in turn freed up some of our monies, road and bridge monies. This had been one of our priority projects, and if monies did become available, we anticipated to do this into the future. So we were lucky that with NOACA's additional funding, so this will be 80-20 split. $1.6 million from the County Road and Bridge Fund and $400,000 from the City of Middleburg Heights. Once again, anticipated cost of the project is $2 million. So this is the first step in us, the welfare and convenience, so we can utilize the Road and Bridge Fund for the project. I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, wonderful. I know this is a project that has been long in the works in Middleburg Heights, and I know Mayor Castelli out there has been really working towards trying to get this done, and I'm sure he's going to be very appreciative moving this forward. What do you see as the start date on this?
Yeah, we anticipate the plans are almost completed. The city of Middleburg had already proceeded with drafting the plans in case monies did become available. So, so this thing is really on a fast track right now. So we anticipate it will be sold sometime in the first late second or early second quarter of next year. And start of completion would be June 1st of 2023.
Okay. And then as far as the construction, what's it going to include? Is are sidewalks included in this?
There is pavement removal. It's a rehabilitation project, which is typically we take off 3 inches of the asphalt, replace or repair base, and then in turn replace that asphalt. If there's curbing work, I know a good section of this roadway is open trench or ditch next to the road. So we will be participating in those improvements also. So the overall value of the project is $2 million, and 80% would be borne by the Road and Bridge Fund.
Okay, and then what do you see as a end date on this if it's starting in June?
Yeah, it's probably going to take a full year, so they'll do a good portion of it through next summer. And I would anticipate that they would be wrapping up doing landscaping items in the spring of 24.
Okay. And then lastly for me, I'm going to ask will the road be closed, or were they going to have open lanes? Or
No,
how's that
it'll
work?
typically, they'll maintain it under the traffic. So, but it will be, somewhat difficult because that's a main route coming through the area. As you know, it's ties into West 150th Street.
Right. Okay, I'll open the floor to my colleagues. Any questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Miller?
My question is, why are we not seeking any state or federal funding on this project?
Well, as I had said, we were able to free up some dollars, some federal aid dollars for other capital projects. So that's where, in turn, the road and bridge dollars became available for it. So the city had been pursuing other options too to try and get this funded. They went through DOPWIC also to see if it didn't score high enough on the DOPWIC. So there has been opportunity, or we've been trying through the city to try and get other funding opportunities.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I'm all good.
Okay, and then as far as moving this forward, what's the request as far as the timing element goes?
Like I said, the plans are near completion, and I think the city hopes to be able to get this out to bid at the first of the year. So if we could, second reading suspension would be outstanding.
Okay, I'll make a motion then for second reading suspension on R 2022-0402. Do I have a second?
Second, with the caveat that Mayor from Middleburg Heights knows that we helped fast-track this for him.
Very much so.
I will make him aware of that very much.
No, he's a good
I appreciate that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And thank you, Mr. Director. And we'll move on to the second resolution here.
Resolution number 2022-0403, making an award on requisition number 10548 to PERT Company in the amount not to exceed $3,554,102.65 for the resurfacing of South Green Road from Cedar Road to Mayfield Road in the city of South Euclid.
Okay, and if you just state your name for the record.
Thanks. Mike Dever, once again, with the Department of Public Works. So this is a request for approval of a contract with the PERC Company for the anticipated cost of $3,554,102.65. There was an RFP that closed back on September 9th. There were 7 bid proposal applications pulled from OPD, 3 bids submitted for review, 3 bids were approved. We took the lowest bid, which was the dollar figure that I already mentioned. The next lowest bid was at $13,000 more, and then the third bid was at $750,000 actually more. The bid is 3.017% over our engineer's estimate, which we have been noticing all of the projects now are coming in a little bit higher. And then it's been like that over the last year now. The project is funded 76% of federal funds, 12% is going to come from our road and bridge fund, and the other 12% will be coming from the municipality, which is South Euclid. The project consists of resurfacing approximately 1.25 miles of South Green Road from Cedar to Mayfield in the city of South Euclid. Traffic signals will be included. New pavement markings and a road diet bike lanes will also be installed. Anticipated start date for the project. I have in the memo here, it shows of November. I'm anticipating this would not commence until at least right after the start of the year now that we're coming into the holidays, but I'll get a clarification on that. And that's...
Okay, I have a question. I understand there's some additional work being done on Green Road over there. Is this going to be in conjunction with that, or is this a completely separate project? Any relation to that?
Yeah, it's a separate project for it. And I know that the council person from that district had been asking some questions about it and how the two projects work together. And we'll make sure that they are, the two projects work together so that there's not traffic issues, which could typically happen as one contractor could be working on one side of the street and another could be working on the other. So we'll make sure that coordination is. happening.
All right, and then you mentioned that it's, the bid was 3% over. So explain that for those who might not be familiar with what's been happening lately with respect to the construction, world of construction and costs.
Yeah, I think we've been before you on a number of occasions, probably over the last year and a half, of just cost increases on all of our projects. It's reflected since COVID came towards the end of COVID until, well, not the end of COVID, but around that time, prices have escalated substantially on steel, concrete. It's difficult to get concrete right now, very challenging. Oil prices have gone up also, as you know. So the price escalations are something that we're trying to deal with. We have actually gone back to NOACA requesting additional funding on 3 of our projects just recently to increase the cost share from NOACA to try and help supplement those increases on projects. So this is something that's happening on all our projects, not just road and bridge, but facilities. Even Matt Reimer will be up before you next to talk about it. So we're trying to, work with that and make sure that we can continue with our capital program so that we can, provide these appropriate projects for the communities.
Okay, appreciate that. I'll open the floor to questions.
I'm good.
I have a couple.
Okay, Mr. Miller?
So you mentioned these 2 projects. Are there different contractors doing the 2 projects?
That's right. It was 2 separate projects. There's actually a 3rd project on Green Road too. So yeah, there's some challenges there, but we'll make sure there's coordination at any time these projects go forward and they're side by side. There's coordination, so there's minimal disruption to the traffic coming through there. There will be some disruption because it is construction, but trying to minimize it specifically for the residents that live there.
And getting back to this project specifically, what results did we get on the diversity aspects?
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have covered that. There was a DBE participation goal of 7%, and they will meet that goal.
So this is under state
That's right,
contract,
the federal
huh?
funds, so we have to follow the DBE process.
Right, okay, right.
All right. Excuse me, what is the timeline on trying to get this work started here as far as moving
Yeah.
forward?
So anticipated, as it's, in references here in the memo that they would have liked to start in November, but I really see them getting started in January, but just getting the paperwork finalized and move forward would be of extreme help. So second reading suspension would be appreciated.
Okay, I'll make that motion for second reading suspension in R 2022-0403. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for second reading suspension. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, thank you, Mr.
Thank
Director.
you, thank you.
Great testimony, Director.
And Madam Clerk, I notice Councilwoman Conwell has joined us just in time. Oh, and Turner right behind for this next resolution. And Madam Clerk, if you could read the next resolution.
Resolution number 2022-0404, making an award on requisition number 10101 to Cold Harbor Building Company in the amount not to exceed $2,248,500 for the purchase of replacement generators located at the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Building.
Okay, and just for the record, we do have Councilwoman Conwell and Councilwoman Turner here. Okay, and if you could just please state your name for the record.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Matt Reimer. I'm the Facility Design and Maintenance Administrator for Public Works.
Okay, and this resolution, if you could just explain what this is regarding and.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This contract recommendation is to Cold Harbor Building Company in the amount of $2,248,500 for the capital project to replace the emergency generator, emergency power generation systems at the medical examiner's office. So the need for this project goes back a little bit. One, we have a very large 2,000 kilowatt generator plant there currently, approximately 30 years old, dates back to the original move of the coroner's office to the to this facility and the renovation that the county performed in the 90s. We have recently, in the last 5 years, had a number of different failures and problems with the existing generator plant. One such outage lasted months, and we had to bring in temporary generation to cover both for medical examiner operations and the large tenant that we have there at the building, which is University Hospital's data center, which is located in the building. So this project was programmed in the 2022 capital plan. We actually started design on this in 2020. We finished our design earlier this year, went out to bid on this project. So the technical attributes of this project is we're going to replace and demolish the existing 2,000 kilowatt generator with two smaller 750 kilowatt generators. We've been able to achieve this through a couple different reasons. One, we conducted a load study as part of the design to make sure we were properly sizing the generator plant to the building need. And number two, University Hospital several years ago put in their own generator plant that covers their entire data center needs. So we're able to just size our generators for the county medical examiner building operations. Two generators gives us some flexibility in one being efficient with the generator plant on when we need certain loads in an emergency situation, but also provides some capability and redundancy in the event that one generator is offline or undergoing maintenance. At the time of emergency, we still have capability to provide critical load and power generation to the medical examiner operations. I should have started with a generator is very important to the medical examiner. A lot of refrigeration systems. Autopsies need to continue through emergencies. The intake from ambulance services and other homes has to continue during emergencies, so this is all very critical to the medical examiner's operations. With respect to the overall bid summary of this, we had, this was a formal invitation for bid. We had 5 bids, all good, meaning that we had a good dollar target here. Our estimate was just under $2.28 million, or just over that, $2.28 million. And this bidder recommended contract came in under that. We also had 4 other bids that extended up to $2.6 million in the bid range. So 2.248 to 2.6 million was our bid range. This was the lowest and best. They were the lowest bid. They were technically compliant. They were administratively compliant, and they were compliant on all of our diversity goals with their bid submission. The schedule considerations on this, we don't expect to be done with this project for some time. The lead time on electrical and generator systems is over a year and climbing right now. So it is important for us to get started and get those generators ordered through this contract, but we won't be performing work probably till later in calendar year 2023 and into calendar year 2024. With that, I stand ready to answer any of your questions.
All right, appreciate that. So first, with respect to the generators, how old, you might have mentioned, how old are the current generators?
One behemoth of a generator, currently approximately 30 years old.
30 years old. And then what is the lifespan, if you know? What is the lifespan of a generator?
I think generally that would be fitting, so that we could expect in the 25 to 30 year horizon on these 2 generator systems.
Has there been issues with this generator, or is it just that has been shutting down and, causing issues?
That's correct. The issues that we've had, Mr. Chairman, have been back in 2017, we had a major outage with fuel pump failures. We had to take the generator system down, provide temporary semi-trailer size temporary generator to park in the parking lot and provide coverage while we were making repairs. Those repairs actually had to go out of country to have new pumps fabricated. So it's just not a system that's easily maintainable. More recently, we're having problems with our automatic transfer switches, as when there is a minor outage, we'll go on generator power, but then we're unable to automatically go back to commercial power when it's restored. And there has to be a manual operation done on the automatic transfer switches. So that's.
And how much backup time does a generator like that, or these new, let's focus on the new ones, how long will they supply electricity for a facility like the medical examiner's office?
As long as they're fueled, they'll go on for as long as we need them, but we can anticipate about a week's worth of capability before needing to have diesel refueling.
Okay. And then, is the vendor going to put them in, or is it going to be the county workers who put them in?
No, this will be a construction contractor, the Cold Harbor Building Company contract that will
This
perform
seems
all work.
pretty detailed item, right?
Correct.
And then, during the construction and installation period, how will if there's an issue with, the electricity going out, what's going to happen? Is it going to be running simultaneously, or?
Right, a requirement in the technical specifications is to have the new generators installed and tested prior to
Okay.
removing the old generator offline. So we'll work closely with the construction contractor on that. I should have also indicated that this involves more than just installing 2 new generators on the site. So these will be located as you pull in off of Cedar Avenue and into the visitors parking lot. There's a current generator enclosure there. Immediately adjacent to that generator enclosure was where we're going to put the 2 new ones. So they'll be side by side. We'll install a new duct bank going into the electrical room, which is on that side of the building. We have some new HVAC that's going to support the electrical room for the additional equipment in that space. And all that will need to be complete before we take the old generator offline and then demolish it and the enclosure it's currently in.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like something I would do in a work project at home, where I destroy the old one first and then find out that the new one doesn't work. That's kind of how.
Right.
That's kind of how my projects go. So that's a good idea. Who's going to be responsible for maintenance of the generator? Is that you guys after it's installed?
We'll have a warranty period on it to start, and then going forward, the medical examiner's building is currently administered by a property maintenance contract with Hannah Commercial Real Estate. So they would certainly be in charge now, as long as we have that contract. If that changes, then either we typically have for our other countywide generators, a service contract currently with Buckeye Generation that comes before Board of Control every so many years to be renewed. So we do have outside technical support always covering our generator systems.
Okay. All right, I'll open the floor to any questions that anybody has. Ms. Conwell?
Through the chair, has there been any communication or collaboration with the Office of Emergency Management regarding their hazard mitigation plan that they have to keep up? They have to update every 5 years. Since you're saying that this is something that just wondering if there's some collaboration or something. Are you talking with Brandy, when she has to look at the overall county emergency plan?
Through the chair, to Councilwoman Conwell, no, not directly on this design, but as we get into construction coordination, we will certainly make sure that OEM is aware of what we're doing, what capabilities the medical examiner has at any time during construction. We've worked exclusively through the medical examiner office, who's a direct report to Ms. Carney, or was. So I'll make sure that we have that communication going forward into construction.
Okay, so I'm thinking if the generator should go out, that's an emergency. So maybe some coordination with her office to see how it fits in the plan. I know
Absolutely.
we leave out details. Okay.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Conwell. Good questions. Mr. Sweeney and then Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt, how are you?
Morning,
Thank you for
Councilman.
all your hard work, as always.
Thank you.
You don't do the sexy stuff, but you do the stuff that's really important to the day-to-day operations that fall into your world, so.
I contend this is a pretty cool project. So
They're cool.
anyway.
Cool as heck. I shouldn't use the word sexy. I apologize, but they are cool. It's in some capacity. We own this building, right?
We do.
And when you said you have a company that manages the building for us, and what expertise do they have in generation? It sounds like a real estate company.
Through the chair to Councilman, I don't mean to confuse the two. They are not, they can be viewed as an extension of the County of Public Works. They're not responsible for the emergency generation project.
No, but just the maintenance of it. That was the question.
Right. They hire a technical maintenance provider. Their current provider, I believe, is Ohio Cat.
So that's what's going to happen.
Right, just
They
the
just
same as
happen
we
to-
hire that same service for our other county generators.
Got it. And if that ever changes, we're going to lop it in with us.
That's correct.
Okay, and then the more specific question is, it seems like we have a super generation, backup generation operation going in here. Two smaller ones, in case one falls down, if we have another one. What is that comparable to the other buildings that we have in Cuyahoga County that we're responsible for that have backup generation?
Sure. So we, similarly, at the Justice Center, we have two generator systems that, very large systems that manage emergency power to the jail and to the court's tower in an emergency situation. Those are primarily for the jail. I'll have to refresh my memory on what we have out at juvenile detention. I believe that's a single plant system. The more recent system that we did was out at the Harvard Yard during that renovation project. We also chose to go with two smaller generation plants so that we would have that capability and efficiency of two smaller generators. There's also a big cost differentiation by being able to provide two small ones per Karpinski Engineering, who's our consultant on this, than buying one big generator. So you get not only, cost efficiency, but operational efficiency and the additional capability of if one goes down, having another.
Thank you. And just two brief ones. It's just an industry standard to have two, and nowadays for this kind of facility.
Certainly, it's been the recent recommendations that we've been working with Karpinski Engineering on these similar systems. Yes.
And lastly, through the chair, since we own the building and we have our medical examiner in there, and we have a tenant that is UH that used to use our emergency backup, but they have their own now, and hopefully they stay in there forever. But if they move out and their independent generation is no longer available to us in that building, would that be accurate? And then someone else that moves in, are we building it big enough to have a different tenant that might need the backup services if UH ever leaves and takes their backup away?
Through the chair to the councilman, I will say yes. What I'm assuming in answering in that way is that we're not going to have another data center operation come in as that tenant. So we will, for a normal use of that or an expanded use of the medical examiner into that floor that University Hospital's in, we will be good on this capacity for this generator plant, yes.
Thank you. That just thought came through your presentation, so that proves that I was listening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Miller?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Reimer, do you have an estimate of how many hours of emergency generation were required in 2022 so far, year to date?
Through the chair to Councilman, I don't. It hasn't been any extended outages of recent. As I mentioned, the incident in 2017 required, I believe, several months of on-site temporary coverage, but that wasn't emergency power being delivered. That was just having the capability there in case of an emergency. We have had small outages from our provider that have been rectified within minutes to hours. So I can't say that I have a total of that, but I can seek an estimate from our property management team if you would like in follow-up.
Yes, I would appreciate that. And if there is an outage and you have this new system installed, will operating one of the two generators be sufficient to provide the power that's needed?
So the new system through the automatic transfer switches will be able to determine whether one generator comes online or two, depending on the power requirements that are being delivered at that time. As an example, if we're in the heat of the summer and the air conditioning and the chiller systems and cooling tower systems are operating at capacity, we will likely need to come online with both generator systems. So this will be able to automatically determine that and bring the right amount of power online to meet the consumption need.
At times when demand is relatively low, then one might be enough.
That's correct.
Okay. And
or in the case of if one was down for some reason and we had to bring one online, then we could make those decisions as to what what areas of the building are operationally critical to continue on the single generator until the other one is back up, as an example.
Okay, thank you. And what were the diversity goals on this project?
The diversity goals were SBE 5%, MBE 16%, and WBE 9%. And they were generally at, but slightly above each of those goals in their bid submission.
Okay, thank you. And final question is after you remove the old generator and you tear down the space, what are you going to do with that space?
That space is green space in front of the medical examiner's building, and as part of our zoning approval with the city of Cleveland, they would want that demolished and left as green space.
And how much space are we talking about?
It is a small slice of property. I can get you the exact size, but I can give you some dimensions here real quick. So we're generally under about 80 feet long for the two generator systems and the enclosure that's around it. And it's probably a 50-foot enclosure that we're removing, estimated. I can give you some exact dimensions. And then in the shorter dimension, probably about 25 feet in the short.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sweeney.
Excuse me, Mr. Sweeney, use your mic
Got it.
on.
Not expected
Yeah, I'm
because
just because when I heard that.
what would be the only thing that's out there is diesel fuel, but they're in existing tanks associated with the generator. But if we had occasion to suspect that, we would bring in our environmental consultant and.
Yeah, once I hear green space and generator and diesel, I just threw that out as a thought. Thank you.
Green space was a loose word. It's a very tight site. It's not a lot of lawn between the parking lot and the Cleveland Clinic property next to us.
And that won't impact parking.
It will not. It will not.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. I don't know if Mr. Sweeney or Ms. Turner has been out to the medical examiner's office for a tour of either. Yes, so
We were.
You got it then. So you know why they need generators out there. So, as far as a timeline on this,
We would request second reading suspension, Mr. Chair, just because, again, that lead time on those generators, we'd like to get as many weeks behind us as possible on that order. So if the,
all right. Well, I'll make that motion for a second reading suspension on R 2022-0404. All those in
Second.
we have I'm sorry. We need a second, and we have a second from Ms. Turner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Reimer. And is there any miscellaneous business before the committee this morning, unless something about the heating, Mr. Sweeney, or? Okay. All right. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and the committee will adjourn at 10:35 a.m. Thank you.